Hello and welcome back to the ElysianNxt Podcast. I'm Chris, CEO and founder of ElysianNxt. Today I would like to discuss a topic which is often overlooked by banks who are looking for a risk management solution. Most solutions, they require a lot of customizations on site. The approach at ElysianNxt is that we deliver an out-of-the-box solution. It's basically the question, customization or configuration. I would like to discuss this important topic with Piet Mandeville. Piet is the head of PS and risk management at ElysianNxt. Piet, welcome back to this podcast.
Thank you, Chris. Glad to be back on the podcast.
Nice. Let's dive immediately into the topic. What is one of the most important factors, most often overlooked by banks looking for a risk management solution in the space of IFRS 9 and Basel?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and our experience is really that when banks are looking out for a vendor for risk compliance solutions, then they are typically focusing very heavily on coming up with an exhaustive list of tick in the boxes, RFIs, RFPs, or extensive lists of requirements that they are asking to each vendor. Can you fulfill this requirement, yes or no? Obviously, the vendors then go out of their way to answer yes to as many questions as possible. And in that process, what is often overlooked is the way on how the vendors go about delivering these requirements. And by doing that, by following that process, it is often the case that banks are buying a solution that they don't really understand of how the solution goes about delivering these requirements. So, like Forrest Gump would say in that case, it's almost like life is a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. Banks are purchasing a solution, but they are not really sure of what they are getting when they are signing up for that solution.
Mm-hmm. Because the RFIs, RFPs are features driven, not necessarily how you deliver those features.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, we both share a background of having worked for the same company, my first company, which was Financial Architects, or short for FinArch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in FinArch we had a solid rules engine, which was part of the offering. So when we sold Basel or IS39 or IFRS 9, a lot of things were done using that rules engine, basically by an army of expensive consultants on site, basically generating code.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could debate that nothing wrong with that because you deliver exactly what the banks require at that point in time, but it has some serious consequences, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was referring to say you can meet requirements in many different ways, and a traditional way, and also the way that you describe, is often a way that we see being used without vendors being necessarily very transparent about it. So they come on site, and as they have promised to deliver these requirements, they come on site with a toolbox, which a rules engine is one of the key toolboxes in that type of solutions that we are talking about. And then indeed to start building these solutions on site, processes, even calculators on site being built with the help of a rules-based engine. So that's definitely something that we are seeing a lot being the case. And that is of course then where we come into the heavily customized solution delivery mode. Yeah.
Now, what happens if, for example, there are performance issues or something has to change? Is then the vendor in question taking responsibility for maintaining those things?
But that's the whole problem with the customization, because customization is something that in a project mode you do have the testing cycles that give the banks the opportunity to validate that the solution does what it is supposed to do. So at that point in time, yes, it is validated that the solution delivers according to the requirements. The problem is that the regulatory space landscape keeps on evolving, keeps on changing at an ever more rapid pace. So that means that, yes, being compliant at one point in time is not sufficient. You need to look at the future and see how will I keep on being compliant with regulation that we know changes at a frequent pace. So that's where you have problems with the customization approach, the rule-based engine approach, where the banks are more often than not, they are left to maintain these business rules and these customizations by themselves, which poses multiple challenges. Not only that is the bank capable of maintaining these and implementing changes on top of these, but also, like we have seen now in many cases, that performance of these customizations is something that tends to deteriorate over time as data volumes grow, as calculation frequencies start to stack up. So then we also see that the performance start to become a problem. So there is many disadvantages to the customization approach. Yes, it offers a kind of flexible way to produce expected results at one point in time, but it is not a future-proof way of delivering solutions.
Mm-hmm. This kind of toolbox approach, the likes of the Moody's, the Oracles, the WKs. Mm-hmm. What's so different with the approach of ElysianNxt?
Well, at Elysian, we are stepping away drastically from that approach for the reasons that we have just discussed, because we just don't think that it is a sustainable, high value added solution for our clients to deliver something that only works at one given point in time. So in order for us to guarantee that our client base has not only a flexible way that users can maintain changes in the future, as well as making sure that the performance is something that we can subscribe to and commit to. All of these requirements are also making it almost necessary for that logic to be developed by development teams and being integrated in the platform itself. And that is the approach that Elysian takes, which is radically different from most of our competitors. So we are, if a bank, let's say, has a certain methodology, let's say for an IFRS 9 type of solution, bank has a certain methodology to calculate PDs, PD forward-looking curves, etc., we would take it on us to develop that logic and to at the same time also make sure that the method is also available through a UI, a user interface that allows the users to maintain these models, to parameterize these models, to make it a flexible model instead of a hard-coded model. So that is what we are delivering for all our solutions. So that's the in-the-box approach.
But also the user experience is drastically increased.
Well, that's one of the things that as the regulation changes, users need to interact with their models. Users need to update these models. Users need to be able to do to run impact assessments, etc., in an ever increasing way. So that interaction of a user with the system is something that is also often overlooked when banks are looking at a reg risk solution. Which is not just an automated end-of-month process that needs to be triggered on a monthly basis. It is a system that users need to be interacting with, and that becomes part and parcel of a normal requirement of any of these types of solutions.
Does this out-of-the-box approach also has any implication on how fast you can implement a solution?
Well, yes, it definitely has. This is one of the things that we have also noticed, that, of course, not having to build customized solutions on site reduces the time for us to deploy a solution. And I'm going to give you a good example. In the Basel IV, for some of our customers, Indonesia, Australia, so countries that have stuck to the 2023 effective date, for these clients, we have been able to go very fast in the implementation. Just to give you as an example, the last Australian client that signed up with us for the compliance by January signed up in only October. the first parallel submission was due in November.
Mhm.
So we delivered that project in less than 1 month's time. So that is something that can only be done if you follow that in-the-box approach. There is simply no time to do customizations. So if you have all the logic residing inside the platform and delivered out of the box, then the exercise really becomes more of an exercise on seeing how the bank's balance sheet assets, data, maps into the solution,
Mhm.
and all the rest happens automatically from there. And that allowed us to deliver the solution end to end in 4 weeks' time or less.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, this probably also means that because we decided to put everything in the box, is that basically that over the years, I mean, the features, the functionality, the models supported, the regulator supported. I mean, that the solution itself is very rich. Instead of developing this client by client basis and never going back into the core components, core modules.
Yeah, correct. So you keep on adding the content to the platform, and that indeed makes it your libraries and supervisory dictionary and content keeps on growing. But that also makes it for us. We have then these expert ways to keep on maintaining these things going forward. So also there we are taking the onus away from the client, and we are basically set up to keep on enriching that content as part of the solution to the benefit of our clients in many ways. Yeah.
Okay. Now you already mentioned a certain point is that regulation is changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a certain release gets stale very fast.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference out of the box or toolbox?
Well, that's another point that we have not touched upon yet. So one of the disadvantages of these customized deployment modes is really that when every software solution needs to upgrade at some point in time. Whether it's because of changes in the regulation or whether it's because the vendor has a new major version that the client is contractually obliged to update to. But banks find that very costly and lengthy processes. The reason that it is lengthy and therefore costly is because of that customized deployment mode. All of that logic that was implemented months or years ago now needs to be migrated to fit onto that new version, and this can then often comes with a lot of on-site effort again, customized effort again.
Because the footprint is so high.
Because the footprint is so high. Well, for us, we are actually mainly focusing on interfacing the data from the bank to get the data in our system, and all the rest from there is delivered out of the box, meaning that upgrades for us is something that we can do very quickly, because they are the same. Every client uses the same solution, and therefore it can be rolled out, so to speak. It's no longer a customized project required to do an upgrade.
Mhm.
So that's also one of the big consequences of adopting that approach, for sure.
Yeah, so longer term, the cost to stay compliant is heavily decreased. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's going back to the very first, the introduction of our chat.
Yeah.
It's basically when banks are looking for solutions, don't just look at point in time, can you do this and this? Look at it from a long-term perspective. Can my users maintain that? What is the process to stay updated with new regulations? What is the update for updating to new releases? Is this all a painful process? Or are we looking for something that removes that pain, where the vendor takes away that pain by adopting that in-the-box approach?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain disadvantages of an out-of-the-box approach? I mean, sometimes I hear the comments that it might be an illusion, that they say, okay, the rules engine gives us the flexibility needed.
Mm-hmm.
Any reflections on that?
Yeah, well, this is something that we hear. We get that question a lot. Now, for me, the flexibility, there is no single way to offering flexibility to a customer. The difference is, if you are coming with a rules-based engine, then the flexibility needs are basically a conversation between the users of the system and the consulting team, and then the consulting team will offer whatever flexibility the user wants.
Mm-hmm. It's not the user that builds it, basically.
No, but in our approach, we just remove that conversation from being a pure conversation between the user and the consulting team that will build something on site. We are bringing the development organization into the conversation, so that we as a company understand what is the flexibility that this particular customer needs, and how will this be delivered as part of our platform. So it's the way how you deliver it that is different, but the level of flexibility should not be different.
Yeah. It's probably more with the out-of-the-box approach, given like the UI driven configuration, instead of having something basically black box there.
Exactly. It's all about giving the users the interface to be as flexibly to work with the system as flexibly as needed, instead of just adding some more rules to do something very specific.
That's great.
That's in a nutshell.
So you can summarize the advantages of an out-of-the-box approach. So it's shorter implementation time, so it reduces the cost automatically. The ElysianNxt is responsible for maintaining, plus guarantees the performance.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the zero footprint, it's much easier to migrate to the next version of the software, and hence you're always up to date with the latest regulation.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds almost as great as this fine Belgian chocolates. So if you're looking for a risk management platform, please make sure what's inside the box, so that you don't have any surprises. Piet, thanks for sharing your experience and background on this topic. Thank you for watching this episode, and if you want more information, this can be found on www.ElysianNxt.com. Thank you for watching.